Today, my group will be presenting on a multiculturalism and multilingualism survey in Eco Horizon Batukawan, Penang. So these are the group members: me, myself, Mydhili, Viknesh, Cassandra, Dhivyah, and Isni.
I will start with the introduction first. So in this section, we'll be looking at what is multiculturalism, what is multilingualism, and multiculturalism and multilingualism in Malaysia. This is a definition given by Hall 2000, who said that multiculturalism is actually different cultural communities that live together and attempt to build a common life while retaining something of their original identity at the same time. So this is one of the definition for multiculturalism. So diversity and plurality in human society have existed even during the early human civilization. So for example, we can take the Greek Empire, Ottoman Empire, and Roman Empire. So diversity and plurality have existed even during that time. So the same applies in the contemporary period, which is the current time. So we have countries such as USA, Canada, Britain, France, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, and Indonesia. So these are some of the examples of countries that have multicultural society. So Malaysia is also a multicultural country whereby it is divided into three major ethnic groups, which is Malays, Indians, and Chinese. Next, let's look at what is the definition for multilingualism. So multilingualism is the ability of an individual speaker or a community of speakers to communicate effectively in three or more languages. So a multilingual individual can speak three or more languages fluently. Multilingualism is the presence of a number of languages in one country or community or city. So let's take Malaysia as an example. According to the Ethnology of World Languages, the number of individual languages listed in Malaysia is 136. Out of the 136 languages listed, two have actually become extinct. So only 134 languages are currently in use. Languages are no longer confined to indigenous speakers only. So for example, the Malay language itself, it is not only spoken by the Malays only, it is used by other races as well. Let's look at multiculturalism and multilingualism in Malaysia. Malaysia is a unique country that is multiracial, multi-religious, and multicultural, with multi-religious customs that gives it a distinct history. Malaysia is characterized by the presence of numerous communities, each with its own identity and shared cultural experience. So one of the major challenges for Malaysia is to provide equal opportunities for the various ethnic and religious groups while at the same time building a united Malaysian nation. So the aim is the balancing act to foster unity among the various cultures while keeping their unique characteristics.
Now we will look at perspective of multilingual and multicultural from school's perspective.
Many critics believe that teachers' cultural awareness and understanding could assist all students achieve academic success by providing them with an equal opportunity to learn. As a result, kids aged from 7 to 12, this is the crucial age where the idea of learners can be shaped and performed permanently for life, particularly if the idea can be enforced conceptually, religiously, civically, and socially in children's early life. According to Barrett and Buchanan Barrow 2011, children begin grouping people into racial and ethnic groups as early as 3 or 4 years of age, with intergroup comparisons and attitudes appearing almost immediately. And this was supported by Barrett 2018, in which she agrees that as a result, by the time children attend school, they are already aware of some of the social groups that are important for establishing racial, ethnic, and national intercultural comparisons. They should be taught that being diverse does not preclude them from experiencing the unity of a multicultural country. Albury in 2021 said that regardless of the lack of socialization among ethnic groups, linguistic diversity thrives in local networks. The proposal was founded on the idea that children might learn to acknowledge Chinese culture, which is a part of the teaching and learning environment, as well as developing a sense of respect for the culture and tradition. This can be seen especially when in 2021 stated that there has been an increment in the number of students from non-Chinese ethnicities participating Chinese medium primary school in the recent years. This expansion is connected to the development of Mandarin Chinese in today's global context, as well as China's place as an international academic leader. Furthermore, most Chinese and non-Chinese families are influenced by the fact that sending their children to acquiring basic education system where the emphasis is on teaching 3 main languages, which is Bahasa, English, and Mandarin Chinese, will result in their children becoming multilingual speakers. The teacher education institution is responsible for laying the groundwork for teachers to practice this in their teaching practices by providing a foundation of multicultural education. Learning and cognitive development is enhanced when teachers develop an understanding of each student's cultural, racial, personal, family, and community background and experiences, and reflect this in the learning experiences that they provide. So Webb and Campbell in 2000 said that knowledge of more than 2 languages allows us to communicate with many people in both personal and professional contexts. This is owing to the fact that the vast amount of knowledge that people possess is often only effectively accessible through particular languages, whether official or unofficial. They also added in their study that knowing an indigenous language is believed to provide an access to a vast reservoir of wisdom, expertise, knowledge, and skill contained in the bodies of speakers of the language concerned. Therefore, this is where multilingualism is a big resource. In 2007, King indicated that children who grow up in a supportive environment speaking more than 1 language from an early age are more perceptive and intellectually flexible than those who speak 1. This is because by using the double first language acquisition model, children with parents constantly speaking different languages grow up being equally fluent and comfortable with the 2 home languages and can even learn a 3rd and 4th language. Though this research focused on the home context, this is also practical in the classroom context, whereby students who are exposed to many languages will tend to be intellectually flexible. Thus, many children who are fluent in more than 1 language are superior literal thinkers, have a great social adaptability, their thinking and reasoning skills are better, and their cognitive abilities are also greater. A case in point is explained by Monroe in 2008 that children who speak at least 2 languages do better in school than those who speak 1 language. So recent research done by University of London Institute of Education concerning studies on bilingualism proved that when you speak 2 languages, you do better in school.
Next, we will look into perspective of multilingual and multicultural from a community's perspective. So, what happens when a community practices both multiculturalism and multilingualism? It inspires creativity and drive innovation and enhance openness. It promotes integration of different cultures and the sharing of one's idea and perspectives. The sharing of ideas can lead to new innovations and more prosperous working relationships. Helps to boost tourism industry, increase employment and income, raise local government revenue. The carnivals, food festivals, and celebrations are always fun and entertaining. A person living in a multicultural society is easily adaptable to new situations. So let's look at the survey findings. This survey was carried out in a community called Eco Horizons, specifically Ashton, in Batu Kawan, Penang. 80 respondents responded to this survey. And from here you can see 52% of them are the Chinese, followed by 31% of Malays and 15% of Indians and 2% of others. So how did we carry out the survey? We put it in the Telegram group, and then we use the crowd signal to 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 develop a survey, and we send them in the Telegram group.
Okay, I'll be continuing on the objectives. Now we will be answering two main objectives here. One is to explore the awareness of Eco Horizon communities' awareness of the existence of the multilingual and multicultural context. To examine this, we use the Monroe Multicultural Attitude Scale Questionnaire. Second, we wanted to explore the practices used by the Eco Horizon community in managing the differences of language and culture in the community. To identify these, we used the Cultural Competence Self-Assessment Questionnaire. Now, first we'll look at the findings from the Monroe Multicultural Attitude Scales Questionnaire. We'll look at the first part. Okay, I'll explain it as a whole and I'll provide extra points later. As you can see, the majority of the community agrees that racism exists, social barriers exist, and they understand that religious belief differs and sexual preference may differ too. They also understand that gender-based inequities exist. The higher percentage, which is 58%, agrees to the statement, "I realize that racism exists in Malaysia." In a recent study conducted by Noor Amali, she deduced that rather than demographic factor and beliefs concerning conservatism, it is discriminatory attitude itself that can be a predictor of racism. This is consistent with previous studies that has observed discriminatory attitudes towards various groups as reliable predictors for discrimination. Hence, this actually reflects in the survey result. Apart from that, a majority of the respondent agrees that social barriers do exist and it occurs when communicating with others. So if you look at the if you look at a study conducted by Ahmad Arifin, he himself agreed that social barrier do happen when it comes to multicultural background, but it is discovered that it is actually a serious miscommunication issue. This is due to linguistic and cultural barriers that differentiate ways of thinking, work, handling problems, and management style. So we can actually deduce that having a common language like English or our bahasa Melayu, bahasa kebangsaan, can actually help reduce the social barrier. Now let us look at the second part of the Monroe questionnaire. As you can see, majority of them agreed that they are emotionally concerned about racial inequality and they are sensitive towards people of every financial status. Now they disagree that they are not sensitive to language uses other than English, and most of them agree that a person's social status do not affect how they care about people. A large number of the participants agreed that they accept the fact that language other than English are spoken. It can be seen from here that the selected community is well aware of the different cultures and languages being practiced in Malaysia. From the overall finding, the community is very respectful of the religious differences, sensitive to differing expression of ethnicity, emotionally concerned about racial inequality, and aware of people's financial status. This can be seen that 41.8% of the respondents strongly disagree to the statement, "I do not act to stop racism." Now let us look at the second questionnaire, which is the Cultural Competence Self-Assessment, which focuses on the practices. As you can see, a majority of the community sometimes attend cultural or racial groups event, community forums or neighborhood meetings, and recreational and leisure activities within communities of different race. It is interesting to see that 39.7% of respondents often join cultural celebration and holidays within the community. This indeed truly reflects the most Malaysians love intercultural celebration and holiday. This is evident when Abdul Rahman stated that the cultural practice of open house, which is an event showing respect and enjoyment of each other religious come cultural festivals, has become part of the national event, implanted in the national collective imagination. Most of the respondents likes to learn different cultures and tradition, and they prefer to make new friends of different background to learn about their culture. Furthermore, most of the respondents sometimes travel abroad to learn about other cultures, join cultural celebration, and surf the internet to learn about different custom and heritage.
So, regardless of where we live in any parts of the world, the chances are you will eventually interact in some environment that involves different culture. In conclusion, the cultural concept played a role in enhancing communities' confidence level and adaptability in the Malaysian context. Thus, multiculturalism in Malaysia maintains national integration in which all cultural communities live together harmoniously while maintaining their own identities. As for the recommendations to improve in this research, as well as to suit the concept of multiculturalism in a community aspect, there are three terms of recommendations which are in society, educational, and the teacher's role. In terms of societal change, society needs to have positive changes to support multiculturalism. High tolerance and understanding level of other cultures may hinder racial problems and miscommunications that could disrupt one's peace and harmony. Secondly, we should provide equal opportunities to multicultural backgrounds in all fields. There should not be any stereotypes or discrimination in a job scope, educational admission, workplace, and etc. Thus, the society's role could develop a multicultural nation and a balanced individual. As for the educational change, educational institutions such as the primary level, the secondary level, and the tertiary level should welcome students and reflect acceptance to all students from various backgrounds. The educational policies should adhere to culturally responsive teaching and learning strategies. This culturally responsive teaching is a rich and intentional approach into students' learning. It connects the students' cultures, languages, and experiences with their peers. Thus, the learning goals designed in the educational policy should understand the purpose and learning styles of different multicultural background of pupils. And the third recommendation is in the educator's role. As a teacher in today's multiculturalism classroom, it's much more than recognizing our students' cultural background and adapting our teaching practices to teach all cultures. First, the teacher should foster cultural understanding in the syllabus. We should explain the interest in ethnic backgrounds and other cultural issues of other students. And this maintains an inclusive curriculum that supports all differences. For example, in a classroom, the minority group could develop a sense of identity and would feel proud about it. They would not feel discriminated or will have low self-esteem as they are the limited number in the classroom. Secondly, the teacher should foster critical thinking through class discussions in multiple perspectives. This critical thinking enables students to move beyond stereotypes in voicing out their opinions. And the third one, teachers should establish and affirm the norm of respect and diversity. The diversity of language is celebrated and cultural integration is respected. Hence, multiculturalism is important in the Malaysian context, and we could understand different perspectives in the world we live.
Thank you, that's all from us.